And we want to welcome all of His Glory Nation from east to west to north to south. Welcome to today's Take 5. Happy Tuesday. I believe this is the last day of the month of May. We have Clayton with Root on with us. Clayton, it's good to see you. We were just talking about Tennessee and what a small world it is that you live in Tennessee, and we're looking for some land down in Tennessee.
You know, you're not the first, you're not the only. It's been really interesting. And as I was saying before we got on here, happy belated Memorial Day.
Thank you.
But it's been interesting because of talking to a lot of our colleagues that are really connected, you know, in this, you can say, the awakening space, that Nashville is one of the fastest growing cities in the country, and it seems to be the center. It is the hub of what is going to be the response to all of this chaos. So it's been really, really interesting since we launched Root on February 2nd of 2020, the different relationships of people that we've even met that live here or that have moved here, on how this amalgamation is all coming together, and how we're all like-minded. But yeah. I mean, there's some really, really elite minds that have very unique histories, you know, like our collaboration that we're now doing with United Nations Women's for Peace, not part of the UN, by the way, but was an organization created years ago by, I think it was Ban Ki-moon's wife, to work to end sex trafficking and slavery and such, where now it becomes really prevalent. We were just back in New York a couple of weeks ago for that event. But to see the type of people that were there, and how everything is just coming together, that all these like minds, whether they're multi-billionaires, you know, and CEOs from some of the largest oil companies, or like you're talking about owners of professional sports teams. Yep. It was, one of them was there, and having conversations that they're all like-minded, but everything it's kind of like thinking of, you know, what an atom bomb does. People think when the bomb is dropped that you see this massive explosion, and it's not true. The first thing you have is just, it sucks in all the oxygen and then it explodes. So I think right now we're starting to see that compression, and things are starting to get explosive, as one might say, because I think people are starting to had enough. You know, I don't know if the monkeys are going to be the tipping point, or when they bring in the cattle and they say that this is just bulls. Yep. So it's getting fun, you know. And I think for us, it's like you've learned, and I think a lot of your community has understood so far, that if you have the solutions, and it's hard to try to talk about and really just beat people over the head with, look, there's a reason this is named the Trinity. Yep. And you know what ReLive does, and what Give Me Back My Youth will be doing here shortly, as far as the collagen and colostrum combination. But what Christina's created really are the solutions for what this environment is, because she was made to do that. Yeah. And it's hard to just, you know, continually beat people over the head about it. Like, look, no, seriously, we're doing really good stuff here. You should join. Right. Well, I can tell you, on the way down here to the studio, I took all your products. I take the Root every day, and I took the greens and everything. And you're fitting that T-shirt really well. Yeah, actually. You're leaning out a bit. Yeah, so it works. I would rather have a shake than eat. Oh, you know, and when you look at what's going on in the world right now, with, you know, the heat waves that they're starting to push, you know, because they're talking about the drought. Well, really, if you can create it, cuckoo, cuckoo. But the food shortages that they're creating, and we're not going to see those immediately. I mean, they start that process, and just like we're seeing with the disruptions in other commodities, right? And this cascade that we're seeing, we now, because of how things are socialized, and not socialized from a government standpoint, but socialized by everyone being connected, and whether you see it on TikTok or in, you know, the alternative media like we have here, where actually real stuff is presented, we're starting to see the events that they're doing that are going to create this cascade, and you really have to plan accordingly. And when you really get into understanding of what we are as humans, that we are this quantum operating system, that we are light, right? That we are Christ-like. And when you get into the technology behind that with quantum physics and harmonics and such, that we actually don't need volume, right? Mm-hmm. When it comes to consumption of nutrients, we need quality, because we're able to assimilate the information, much like a virus, right? You get exposed to a virus, the body will identify whether it's what information is in the virus, if it's something that it can use and learn from, which is like an upgrade, your immune system or your body, your operating system improves, and it will discard and eliminate the rest. The body from a nutrient standpoint works the same way. And I find it really interesting in having conversations with people as they bring other products to me, or people ask me to look at something. And what you have to understand is that it's not quantity, right? If you're a biohacker, I see people that are like, I take 1,000 milligrams of this, and 500 milligrams of this, and 2,000 milligrams of this. And they're like, I'm trying to increase my focus, my clarity. And I'm like, yeah, you have it all wrong. Take one capsule and take a couple capsules and watch what really happens. But it's really nano dosing. Yeah. But it's got to be the right combinations of nutrients. It's the right quality. And that's why, like you've seen with ReLive, you only need a teaspoon of greens, and it's like life changing. You're like, wait a minute, usually I have to take scoops. You're like, no. It's quality, and having something that you can live on, right? Mm-hmm. And that's been Christina's plan with the Trinity, and then what she's adding with ReLive, with natural barrier support, to support, immune function. But then with Give Me Back My Youth, which is a combination of colostrum and collagen. And this stuff is outstanding. But what was intriguing, and this is something we'll have to collaborate with because of the influence of your community. We have a baby formula shortage, right? Allegedly. And actually it's been created. But even the baby formula that's available is absolutely horrible. I would never give it to my kid. I wouldn't even give it to my dogs, because it's so horrible. But when Christina and I, a couple of weeks ago, were looking at and planning the launch of Give Me Back My Youth, the foundational component is colostrum. Yep. And well, colostrum is the most important thing for babies, right? Because it's what comes from mom. And so the shift took place when Christina looked at what was going on in the market. She's like, we need to make this available to moms. So we're looking at if we do like a Tom's Shoes approach, to where we'll donate a bottle of Give Me Back My Youth to a mom who needs it to make formula for everyone that's purchased, right? Because there's a lot of people that need one. There's a lot of people, just adults and such, that need it from a functional standpoint. But we have a large population of kids who really, really need, you can say the nutrients, but the core component. And all of the issues that we see with moms not being able to breastfeed is all due to the toxicity issues that have been put in them since they were conceived, and that we've seen in our environment. So if we can start to clean women up a little bit, we're not going to have these problems over time either. So that was my long rant for the day. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Can you walk people through again the products? I got to tell you, I know there's certain things you can and you can't say. I was approached this weekend by 3 different people who took the jab, and they asked me what would I suggest to help them. One is a general, and they took your product, and they have never felt better.
Yeah, well, we actually have the data on that. We've been able to collaborate with the International Science Nutrition Society, which is a third-party research organization that will do peer-reviewed third-party analysis on case studies and published data. Dr. Norbert Keshkesh, I'm not sure if you've had Dr. Keshkesh on.
Nope.
But he's one of the top doctors in Hungary. He's the doctor for the Hungarian Olympic Committee. So he's not like little guy, right? Very, very well established. He's done a ton of case studies, and he works with athletes. So not just 18, 20-year-olds, but 30, 40s, 50s that are athletes that are active as his clients and patients. And I think there's 5 or 6 case studies that are like you're talking about, that were athletes that got sick, lost their smell, their taste, those things went away. But because of the mandates and what they were told was best for them, which we know not what was best.
Right.
But they got 2, sometimes 3.
Yeah.
And then they had all the issues, the myocarditis issues, the heart inflammation, the C-reactive protein, which is systemic inflammation, and also the liver enzymes that go ballistic. And those have been published, and we've known those. Christina's known that for 16 years, but the knowledge of an understanding of what's happening, right, with this monkey conversation that's going out. Do you understand what they're saying? They're giving you. They're letting you know that your liver is so toxic, you're going to have shingles. You're going to start throwing shingles. You're going to have these other issues. What they're doing is they're showing you now what they did to you, or what they did to this population that was deceived, that chose poorly, and is now going to be reaping the consequences of their choices. And there is a really good book that was written. I know you reference it quite a bit, and I think it was in a chapter called Revelations.
Yeah. That
you would be deceived, you will choose poorly, and a third of you are going to die. It's the hard part. We've lost friends here recently that had that same process. 50-year-old guys, active, healthy, dropped dead of aneurysms, 2 on the same freaking day.
Wow.
That we had no idea. And one of the crazy parts is one of the individuals, who was one of Christina's best friends, didn't want to do it, but his wife is a senior executive at one of the healthcare systems here. She made him do it. And he's the one that died. And so when you look at foundationally how to address the issues, it's a matter of toxicity. And you can't just look at the last 2 years of what's been mandated and what's been put out. This has been a multi-generational approach to get us to a tipping point, right? And, and because of the campaign, right? And I'm not talking about the campaign that we see politically. I'm talking about the satanic campaign, that we live in Satan's playground, and that we have this beautiful thing called free will. And in order for Satan to win, right, we have to give that up. So they have to put out all of the propaganda, because it's the rule that Satan has to show us whatever they're going to do. How he disguises it. Oh, because he's the master of deception, right? So how it's disguised is usually done really, really well. So it may come across as something that you need to do, and that you will reluctantly give your free will to have things done to you without the real understanding of the consequence. So we've seen that, and we've seen that, for generations with fluoride for your teeth, vaccinate your kids, get your shots. If you're a newborn baby, get your hepatitis shot as quickly as possible. What? So you've got this exposure. We don't have to go over chemtrails and everything that's in the air, the water, the soil, all of that stuff. So you've got to work to clean this out. What Clean Slate does is just that, but it does it in a manner that's also delivering the key trace minerals, delivering the bioavailable silica, which is so important, because as we talked about, we're a quantum computer. We are the quantum computer. We are a network, which is why they want to socially distance you, because if you disconnect the network, you then can destroy it. But if we are connected, if we are community, we're unstoppable. So the silica, if you remember the last couple of years, guess who's not making microchips? China. Yeah. What are those microchips made out of? Silica. What's crucial for that? Because it's used for communication. Well, guess what? The silica works in this operating system the same way. But the key has been how to use nature's most abundant bioavailable source properly. That's what Christina figured out how to unlock, because this is what she's made to do. Clean Slate gives that foundation. And then Restore, which is absolutely amazing just as a snack, but it is designed to take care of your gut, because we hear constantly about the gut-brain connection and the vagus nerve, right? And when you look at the vagus nerve and you understand it, it goes from your gut to your heart to your brain, connects everything. spiritually, energetically. So your gut is what controls your immune system. It's where everything starts, right? It's your second brain. You got to trust your gut. Well, you can't trust your gut if it's poisoned, which goes back to the free will.
Right.
Because if they can screw up your gut, you won't communicate here. So when you're being deceived, you can't trust your gut anymore because it's poisoned. It's going to lead you the wrong route. So you have Restore that is a combination of tremendous ingredients, really, really high quality sources in the right amounts to work to clean out and kill off the fungus, the parasites, which is really important because we've got a lot of them in us, and work to allow your gut to start to regenerate, which it can do very, very quickly. This is not a weekly thing. This happens in minutes, actually. And then you take Zero In, which is going to be back in stock here pretty soon, but behind me, which is my favorite capsule of all time, which is honestly, it is the weapon of performance. And it is I will argue, Clean Slate is by far the foundation for what we do. But I will argue that for those of us that want to be what we are made to be, right? Like you have on your shirt. If you want to be the lion instead of the sheep, you have to be functioning as such. It's all through neurotransmission, right? It's dopamine, it's serotonin, it's the cascade of neurotransmission production that's done through that process. So by feeding your gut this strategic combination of really small amounts of key ingredients, it gives your gut the ability to produce dopamine and serotonin, but it does it endogenously and adaptogenically. So based on what you're doing, your body dictates, do you want more dopamine? Do you want more serotonin? And because Clean Slate is decalcifying your pineal gland, which is the light center of the brain, both from a circadian rhythm perspective, which is your sleep cycle, your sleep-wake cycle, which controls really everything, your immune function, everything we need, but also the spiritual center of the brain, right? That's what connects us to our source, to God, to light. And that's why they figured out long, long ago that mercury, lead, aluminum, fluoride were really important because they can block that. If they can disconnect us from our source, load you with negative antennas, because if your audience, it's fairly vast, but most of your audience, I think, can remember having a television with rabbit ears, right? And if you remember what those rabbit ears were made out of, they were made out of aluminum. Why? Because it will receive frequencies. Well, guess what they've been injecting into you since you were a child, and that your mom put in you with mercury, aluminum, and lead, all of that stuff. So as you clean this up, you disconnect it, the dopamine and the serotonin is regulated. So during the day, you can be alert, you're focused, you can just absolutely crush everything you want to do. You can get off a lot of the antidepressants because it's all dopamine and serotonin pathways. It takes a little bit of time, so you really just have to titrate off as you're playing with your Zero In, your Clean Slate, and your Restore. But like one of our assistants, she's been on Zoloft for like 16 years and she's off of it now. And It took her a couple months to do that. She's like, I feel better now than I ever have. I take 2 or 3 Zero In on the weekend. I get all my chores done. The weekends are amazing. I feel great. Well, you need to take 2 or 3 all the time so you can get that amount of work done in the office.
Right.
So you have this amazing feeling during the day, you're functional, but at night you have the serotonin that goes to your pineal gland and converts to melatonin. And extra serotonin converts to DMT endogenously. It's natural because that's how we dream. So you have this amazing combination of 3 little products, right? We talk about and we named it this way strategically because when we talk about the Trinity on the spiritual aspect, it's so simple, right? It's the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. Oh yeah, it's only the Trinity. But if you really take the time to understand the complexity that makes up the Trinity on that side, as well as on this side, then you really get to understand the value of what you're getting. And then when you add in ReLive and you add in natural barrier support is something you probably don't need to take every day, but it's something that you need to have with you because, one, it's less expensive than anything else you're going to get. It's the right combination and the highest quality you're going to find for vitamin C, zinc, and vitamin D. And the mitochondrial support that she created that we're testing and we're getting ready to release, which is NAD and quercetin and a few other things. Holy shnikes. It is amazing. And then with Give Me Back My Youth, with supporting the collagen and colostrum combination to go along with the rest of them is going to be unique soon. But the big three really is the Trinity. That's the foundation. Yep. And I mean, we've seen, going back to what you're talking about, for those that have been stuck and that are worried about the consequences, we have not one, but 5 or 6 case studies just that are published, proven, that are on the ISNS website, full reversal of all of the issues. Wow. Cardiac inflammation, C-reactive protein, liver inflammation. So non-alcoholic fatty liver is something that has been an issue for the last decade or so, and that the Mayo Clinic has actually stated, because we had to start doing some research into this, the Mayo Clinic said there's no treatment for it. We win. But at least 30% of the US population, regardless of age, that means your kids, as well as teenagers, adults, geriatrics, have a non-alcoholic fatty liver. What does that mean, though? It means that your liver is your primary filter, right? Yeah. And we've become so toxic that instead of fat being stored up around our abdomen and such, that fat is being built up inside your liver because it is so polluted. And you have to remove the toxins to allow those fat cells to shrink, to allow your liver to start working again. We're the only ones who've done it well. Yeah. And we've done it consistently. We actually have it proven. So when you look at the multifaceted issues that people are facing, we're going to see levels of hepatitis that are going to be diagnosed suddenly that will blow people away, all because of that one thing that is destroying your liver. And Pfizer came out and said, 16.6% of the cases that we saw had liver issues. Hold on. So the thing that you were vaccinating people for that had a 0.0001% issue, 16.6% of the people that you gave your little inoculation to are going to have liver problems. Just liver, let alone the rest of the causes of death. Yeah. So you go, all right, we need to start paying attention to this. And I don't think that, like I said, we can't just keep hitting people over the head and saying, look, you need to do this, because that approach doesn't work. So I think having these conversations, and every once in a while someone else pays attention, is like, okay, if it's working for Pastor Dave, and if it works for the guy with crazy hair every once in a while, we might listen. And we were just down in Florida last week with some amazing people for Florida Voices. Mm-hmm. And you talk about a group of patriots in Fort Myers. Mm-hmm. Holy shnikes. I walked into Seed to Shelf for this event we had, and they were having a Glock giveaway on June 1st. I was like, I'm home. These are my people. And one of our hosts, his eyes were all watering because of his allergies. He was all stuffy. And I was like, okay, take 10 drops of Clean Slate when you go to bed. Take a 0 in. Call me in the morning. He woke up and he's like, I slept so well and I have no more allergies. My eyes aren't watering. I'm like, yeah, that's the first night. Just watch. Yep. And so it's a matter of trusting the process. And I think what we're trying to get through to people, because of this social sharing approach that we're taking, that if your audience doesn't trust you, they shouldn't be watching you. Right. Right. And if they trust you enough to take the information that you're providing to make decisions on how they're going to live, they also might want to put a little trust into doing the things that you are doing to improve your own performance and protect yourself, your staff, and your family. Because it's what we're doing, and it's what Christina created this entire platform for. It was not to make money. It wasn't for a business. It was because she knew what was coming, what was being done, and she has to take care of our family. Yeah. And my goal was then looking at this and going, well, let's make our family bigger, because it's what we got. So
yep,
there we go.
And if you were in it to make money, it takes me. I take the greens every day, and it takes me 2 months to get through one bottle.
Yeah. And you look at Clean Slate, we have, it says take 10 drops twice a day on the bottle. We have people taking 1 to 2, 1 to 2 drops a couple times a day, and they're getting amazing outcomes. They're like, I can't take more than that. I'm like, well, this is terrible from a business approach, that the bottle that was supposed to last a month is now going to last you 3 or 4.
Right.
But then when you go, okay, well, 1 bottle can take care of a family.
That's right.
Okay. And, it's the challenge that I really laid down, for businesses when we created the construct for what Root is, because I'm taking 50% of our revenue and I'm putting it back into the people that actually share and create the value, for the company, right? So I'm taking our advertising dollars and spending it heavily where the value is created. But most companies don't spend that much money on advertising, and they sure don't put the money back into the people that created all the value. If that was true, Amazon wouldn't be worth a couple trillion. It would be worth a lot less, and people would be making more money because they've shared with their friends who all created Amazon accounts and that are buying stuff from China.
Right.
Oh.
Yep.
So
what in closing, you want to highlight all the key items?
Yes, you've got Clean Slate, which is foundational for cleaning up the mess. You've got Restore for taking care of your gut, really systemic inflammation. And by the way, we actually have clinical data that shows using these makes you biologically younger in minutes. So you've got Restore. You can use Restore topically. It is a phenomenal facial. It's actually amazing. Zero in to boost your focus, your clarity, sleep. Get that, right?
Yep.
So the thing that'll give you what you want during the day is the same thing that'll put you to sleep at night. And then you've got the ReLive Greens, and then we've got a couple more siblings coming here for the middle of June. But if you're wanting to try something to test things out, if your budget concerns, start with Clean Slate. Mm-hmm. If you really want the full impact, do the Trinity, and play with it. We're very active on socials, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, on our science chats on the website. So if you've got questions, ask. That's the one big thing. If you have health issues that you have questions about, you can do 2 things. You can ask on the chat. You can send an email to science@therootbrands.com. And, we've got clients as young as a day. And I think we've got some up into their 90s now. But here's the cool thing. If you want to understand how amazing this stuff is, we have an 84-year-old who is a sport bike racer. He drag races motorcycles at 84.
Wow.
One of the guys I want to be like in 40 years, right? But he's on Clean Slate, Zero In, and Restore. And after, I think it was 2 weeks, so he's drag racing motorcycles. So everything is about reaction time, right? It's all about reaction time. And then how fast you can go. He goes about 145, like real quick. But after a couple weeks of using them, he pegged a 0.00 and a 0.01 on his reaction time off the line. Now, 20-year-olds don't do that.
Wow.
An 84-year-old is reacting faster than, well, perfectly. You'd think you'd slow down a little bit. And we got that data, and then we've also got the world record holder in outdoor distance swimming that works with Dr. Keshkesh over in Hungary. And his reaction time in the case study that they did, and we have this published on ISNS, but with Clean Slate and Zero In, just those 2, his reaction time improved by 40% in 30 days.
Wow.
I mean, drugs can't do that.
No.
And that's what's crazy. And, when we look at Memorial Day, I think what's really important for all of our veterans, I would argue that we've lost more. Yeah, I know this for a fact. We've lost more veterans from exposure to being in the military and being in service than we did in service.
Mm-hmm.
We look at what we're losing every day now from Vietnam and the Agent Orange exposure. We can resolve that. We get into the Gulf War. We don't have Gulf War syndrome. Here's what we have. We have vaccinosis issues, and we have a bunch of depleted uranium and a bunch of other stuff that they were burning and that we were exposed to. It's all environmental, and we address those too. And when I won't get into, false flag events that involve, schools and such, because my outline's a little bit different than arguing over gun control. Take good aim. That's good gun control. We're good. But when we look at the mental health issues that we have in this country, it's primarily this country. This is not the mental health problems. It's not a global issue. It's actually a U.S. issue because of how they're medicating people and what they're doing. And that's intentional. But if you want your mental health to be tip top, this is what you should be doing. But I'll tell you, you have to play with 0N because what's recommended on the box might not be just what you need. You might need a couple. Like for me, because of the amount of stress that I'm under every day and what we have to do, I take 3 at once, and I am freaking outstanding. Some people fear doing it. I will tell you that greatness is something everyone should feel and experience at least once. But when you do it, you're like, you know what? I think I'm going to do that again. And also taking a capsule of 0N before bedtime. If you haven't done that yet, I challenge you.
I have to do that. I have not done that.
It is text worthy. I guarantee you, if you do it tonight, you will text Christina tomorrow and go, oh, that was an experience. Because it's just outstanding, especially for them, like the amount of work you guys are doing. And, the amount of focus you have to have during the day, the amount of stress that you're under because of, the population that you serve.
Yep.
Restful sleep is something that is just absolutely invaluable. And you can have a MyPillow, but you take a 0N with a MyPillow. It was amazing. So.
All right. I've got to try both. I got a lot of MyPillows. I'm going to try that tonight. So Clayton, thank you once again for coming on. It's been a blessing and a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. I'll be back shortly, but you get Mama next. So.
All right. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Cheers.
All right. Cheers. We'll be right back after this. And welcome back. You got to get Root. Root is an incredible product. The Trinity and all the other greens that come with that. I take it literally every day. I literally had that before I came down. That is my lunch. One thing Clayton didn't say that he has to be careful about saying, because the athletes don't want you to know their secret sauce, pun intended. Many athletes are using this. Dr. Christina Rahm actually wants me to get Creed, my son, to start taking it for basketball. Her son takes it for basketball too. So good stuff. You've been told by some doctors that I respect out there that there is no cure. But as I told Clayton before during that interview today, I had 3 success stories over the weekend. People reached out to me using the Trinity product and said they feel better and their doctors have given them a clean bill of health. They're clear. The clotting is gone. So that is absolutely great news.